Ryan, when you analyze assistant coach performance, what factor is most important to you?
Obviously, like their production from their from their players on the field. Um, that's the main evaluating factors. Like how well do your guys play? How well do they produce? How consistent do they play? those are all main criteria.
Where does recruiting, like if it's a pie chart, like how big of a piece is recruiting in that?
Recruiting is huge too. I thought you were just talking about evaluating.
Yeah, just the whole thing. Top.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, can you get your guys to go play the right way and play consistent and play winning football? And usually, those type of players are also good players, right? So you got to be able to recruit and develop relationships. And how does your room respond to you? Can you hold them accountable? How well do they receive coaching, and are you a great teacher? You also got to be a good evaluator in the recruiting process. So those are all things that you look at, from an assistant coach standpoint.
Has the relative weight of those factors shifted at all for you over these 2 years, either because of what Purdue needs specifically, or just from being in the chair for the first time these last 2 years?
Yeah, I think now that you've gone 2 years, I think the weight shifts more toward how are your guys playing on game day, especially with like the recruiting world nowadays with revenue share happening, with NIL, with transfer portal, all those things. There's a lot of different hats and a lot of different ways to get guys into the building. It's not all relationships and laying out the red carpet on a recruiting visit. You know what I mean? So your development of the players in the building and how they practice, how they perform. Those are huge evaluating factors.
Where do you think Marcus Davila is right now in his development, nearing the end of this first year? And I guess what do you see as his potential to have a big impact next season?
Yeah, I mean, he's a true freshman that's getting redshirted. He obviously has a ton of arm talent. I think he's a bright individual that gets what we're doing schematically. He's improved his his physique and his athleticism, through our strength and conditioning program. And this spring will be huge for him. I definitely think he's got a shot to compete, just by the nature of who he is and the type of arm he has.
How have you kind of grown as a coach here the last couple weeks as an offensive coach, having experienced kind of that part of the equation?
Yeah, I've grown a lot as a coach. Obviously being on the offensive side, it opens your eyes up to a different lens and a different perspective. You kind of see the game in its totality, and the conversations with the O-line coach and the tight ends and protections and route trees and what they're looking for in terms of reading the defense and how they adjust based on the shell or the coverage they're getting. I've grown a lot because of that. I think that'll be really advantageous moving forward. Obviously just you get 2 years as a head coach. That you're and sitting in the chair for the first time, you learn a lot.
When you look back to the Michigan State game, obviously the three drops there in the fourth quarter were pretty pivotal. Did you sense a common thread among them, whether it was the conditions, the weight of the moments, anything like that, or just something that happened?
I think just something that happened. Like some of them were routine plays, that you've seen guys make. I know Jamal Edrin is he's still sick right now, and on the double move, we've seen him make that play. He made it in the Illinois game. Tibbs has pretty steady hands and routine pitch and catch. And so I don't know if it's the moment that was too big or lack of focus or whatever the case may be. Those are all things that we can learn from. And I know those guys were hurting in the moment, and they're looking forward to getting back out on the grass and practicing and having another opportunity on Saturday.
The last thing for me, you mentioned the revenue sharing coming into play. I know there's some things to be sorted out there, but how are you talking to recruits about that right now? Are you recruiting to that model, not knowing what the model is exactly going to look like?
Well, we have a pretty good idea what the model is going to look like. We're not like offering out deals to high school kids yet. I think those conversations are more within your own current roster right now. And then obviously when the portal opens, like those will be big talking points and trying to fill needs.
You mentioned there's a lot of different ways to get guys in your program now. Has Indiana kind of, I don't want to say blueprint, but shown that is a model that's quickly effective and you can turn a program around basically overnight? I mean,
yeah, there's been a lot of programs that have sort of used that model. You look at Colorado and what Coach Prime's been able to do there. Shoot, Ohio State took a lot of transfers this past season. So, you definitely got to get the right guys to fit your needs. But it is possible to flip a program pretty rapidly because of the landscape and the rules in recruiting and in transfer windows in college football now.
Obviously, on game weeks, you look forward to Saturday, this being the last one. How much maybe are you not looking forward to Sunday, and obviously some tough conversations that have to happen with players, with staff members?
I mean, I'm looking forward to Saturday. That's what I'm focused on right now. Those are the things that are right in front of us right now. And then after Saturday, I'll look forward to the next wave of things.
What's the biggest difference you've seen from Indiana, just obviously playing them last year, to what you've seen on film from them this year?
I mean, obviously a completely different roster, right? Very experienced team that's played a lot of football. They've got good schemes offensively and defensively, and those guys they run it to a T. It's a well-oiled machine. They don't make a ton of mistakes. They make the plays they're supposed to make, and those guys, like, they force you to try to beat them on all three phases. But yeah, you can tell they've played a lot of ball. A lot of those guys have played a lot of ball together, and they're playing extremely confident right now. And we've had a lot of crossover games, so I've been able to watch a lot of tape, and it's the same theme, throughout the season. They get off to really fast starts on offense and defense. Teams sort of hang around, and then sort of midway through the third quarter, it seems like they tend to pull away, and the game ends up looking a lot more lopsided than it was, through the meat of the game. So, well-coached team, talented team that plays tough and physical, and they play smart football.
I think the motivation for a trophy game is kind of built in, but the opportunity to play spoilers, is that something that you think can add to the motivation for Saturday? Yeah,
the guys are excited and are looking forward to the challenge. Anytime you have a trophy game, an in-state rival, and playing against one of the top-ranked opponents, like this, it's easy to get up for those. And so, we had a really good meeting yesterday. Guys have already been through the building to get scouting reports today, and looking forward to tomorrow's practice.
Ryan, how do you go about pulling off a big upset? You guys are a heavy underdog here. What's your formula to shock the world?
I mean, we have to execute for 4 quarters. We've done it in spurts. We got to put 2 full halves together on offense and defense. Obviously, can't do things to put ourselves behind the 8 ball, and you sort of give them opportunities. And when we have opportunities, we got to take advantage of them. Momentum is a real thing for 18 to 22-year-olds, and it builds confidence. It re-energizes and gets the sideline excited. So we gotta come out fast to have a really good start and build off of some momentum and execute at a high level.
Well, what do you think maybe the most surprising thing is you learned this season?
Most surprising thing, You know, I've learned sort of how what I've been surprised with in terms of like our entire program. You know, our players, coaches alike, is just the ability to put blinders on, block out the noise, and focus on the task at hand and work at it. You know, you go play, put forth your best effort, and then whatever the results are, they are, and then sort of resetting and doing it again. You know, that can be tough in today's world, with social media and sort of everybody having a voice, and so for, you know, those 18 to 22-year-olds to be able to come to work and show up every day with a positive attitude and still dive into their craft and trying to get better and going through the process. You know, I've been surprised with sort of their resolve and their resiliency that way.
How do you stay in the moment and not look to the future?
Oh, it's pretty easy. You know, like I'm a routine-oriented person, and so when you have a Saturday game, you have your weekly routine, and you just dive into the job and the task at hand and put forth your energy and time into those tasks. You know, that hadn't really been that difficult.
Kevin said it's easy to deal with criticism online from us, from wherever. The hardest thing is going and talking to his kids and then looking up to him and the season going the way it has. How challenging has that been, that side of things?
You're talking like your players or like your family kids?
Yeah, your family, like being a father, and then obviously they want to see their dad succeed.
Yeah, I mean, those are, I mean, they're, you know, my kids got it pretty good, right? And I think these are lessons that will pay dividends for them, like growing into a man, right? You know, you need, in order to be a well-rounded individual and to sort of maximize who you can be as an individual, like you have to go through some struggle. You know, life isn't always, you know, sunshine and rainbows and success. Like they're learning real life lessons and learning how to deal with criticism from their peers as well. You know what I mean? And you know, you still got to remind them that you know, the people that you know and that you care about, like that's whose opinion matters. And you know, there are lessons learned through adversity and how you carry yourself and how you have poise when you get angry or you disagree. You know, those are all things that, you know, a 10 and an 8-year-old sort of need. And so if this season has provided them with sort of those life applicable lessons, then, you know, it's all good. You know what I mean? As long as you're learning from some of the struggles, then, you know, you're moving forward and becoming better as an individual.
More questions for Coach?
And just on the health, C.J. Smith, Cole Brevard, I'm not sure about DeMarge. Just the health, and do you anticipate any key guys being out?
You know, we'll find out more in today's staff meeting. I know Cole Brevard is trending in the right direction to be available, as well as Chops. Still waiting to hear on CJ.